This episode is brought to you by Slamdisc, Brasserie Deux Frères, and bandpromo.ca.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more
podcasting.
Hello, and welcome to Nick on podcast de Dictionnaire. Today is a special show. We got a little bit of a back-to-back with some pretty interesting people. Today, my first guest is Scott Reynolds. He is the lead singer, lead vocals of the band. Well, of the band All.
I was years ago, and now
you're now solo on your own.
Now it's just me. Yeah, nowadays it's just me.
I'm very lucky. Jay invited me here today at the campus for the show, the Music4Cancer Tour, the acoustic tour you guys are doing, and said, "Do you want to speak to the guys from, Scott and everybody from All?" I'm like, you know what? These guys, maybe a little bit knows to me and maybe my listeners, punk rock. 90s punk rock. These are people that have added to the tapestry of 90s punk rock and today. And I love getting insight. Maybe stories people are not used to hearing or stuff. Just a first POV experience of what it was like, or what it is like still today to do punk rock in today's world.
Well, I mean, for me, punk rock was never kind of a choice. I came along at a time when that was what kind of everyone was doing, I mean, I just like to play music, and so nowadays my punk rock, I guess, would only show itself probably with regard to the lyrics, much less the music, or not so much the music, because I'm out here with just my guitar and,
Well, I'm guessing you're saying, because I mean, if we look at punk rock, let's say literally what it was in terms of a movement or a sound or a style, I think, like you said, it's not something that you choose to be. It's just that's the way life is. It's what the cards are dealt
and then
to.
On top of that, you could say punk rock's more of an ethos, which existed before it was called punk rock.
Oh, absolutely.
And will always exist, and not even just with music.
Absolutely. Counterculture in general, just the idea of going against the...
I mean, if you look at like Little Richard from way back, he was basically a black transvestite homosexual in the South.
Absolutely.
You don't get any more punk rock than that.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest fuck you there is.
Exactly. I think that is something that I think even my generation don't seem to kind of grasp in the idea when they say punk rock. Because, for example, like you said, it could be like, punk rock isn't just a mohawk and a tattoo. It is, you could be punk rock and be a cowboy.
You can have a mohawk and a tattoo and be a douchebag. I mean,
absolutely.
So,
I'm guessing also because, like you said, you've been doing this for so many years. You came out, I'm guessing, late 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Well, that's when I first got...
When you first started getting...
people kind of bought some records.
Well, if I were to go back a little before that, how'd you get into... What was the first time? What was your first, foray into music? When was the first time?
Playing drums in a band called The Creeps with my brother in high school. And we mostly played old Kinks songs and shit like that.
Sweet.
But yeah, and then I realized that drumming is too much pressure. Like, when you play drums, you're the only person in the band that can't make a mistake.
That's very true.
You're the only,
Absolutely.
You play music. When the drummer makes a mistake,
everyone knows.
Right, and everything falls apart, and everybody in the
Absolutely.
band is terrified. And so if you work your way up from the bottom, the bass player can make a mistake, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. And then if you get the lead guitar guy, he fuck up all he wants. And then the singer can actually jump off stage and
disappear.
Yeah, go chase a girl or get in a fight or whatever, and the song keeps going. So I started as a drummer and very quickly was moved up to the least pressured position. Which is
He moved up, yeah.
Just I'll sing, yeah.
I'll sing, perfect. And what area is this? I'm guessing Southern California. Where exactly?
Well, no, I started in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, okay.
And then the Descendants were one of my favorite bands. And their stuff sounded kind of like what I do. Mm-hmm. So when I got out of college, my dad threw me out of the house for having a big bag of weed, actually. And he said, "Go find the life." It was a favor. He was doing me a favor, but and so I went out to Los Angeles and found the Descendants and lived in my car in their parking lot and stuff.
That must have been such a trip, because Descendants, of course, my generation recognizes the Descendants. Everyone does. It's, I mean, even if you're new to punk rock, it's
and
a
if
name.
you don't know, All is the Descendants with a different singer. So just for whoever's...
No, absolutely, and I think it's important to note, because what I've always noticed in punk rock is that there is a line that you can kind of draw where people are inspired by others, bands play with each other, tour with each other, and that kind of builds, like I said, the tapestry. So let's say throughout the 90s, you're playing in All at this point. When you leave college, you're going to Los Angeles.
I went out and I hung out for a while, and I played in a band with Tony Lombardo, who was the original bass player from the Descendants. And then I met them, and like I said, I moved into their parking lot, and then they needed a singer, and then they asked me, because I was the guy that lived in their parking lot and worked in their office and stuff. And then I became the singer of all, and I was in there for 4 or 5 years, touring all over. We played 200 shows a year all over.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, this is a question.
And it was bizarre, because when I moved out there, I didn't think I would be in the Descendants, or all, but it was
no, absolutely.
In the band.
Exactly.
And then I ended up in the band, and it was...
That must be such a head trip. Like, say you're an East Coast guy, you get thrown out, you're thrown into a new adventure on the other coast, and here you are, and like you said, like you're staying in parking lots, going from that to touring 200 days out of the year. Mm-hmm. What kind of head trip that must have been? Because again, we're talking about a pre-internet, pre-everything.
Right. Yeah.
What was life like when you're doing 200 shows a year?
It was, honestly, it was kind of horrible. Because we were always filthy, we were always hungry, and I remember once I think it was, we were in the Alps, I know that, and we hadn't eaten in a really long time, and we couldn't find anything open, and Stephen, the guitar player, we pulled off on this thing, and down over the hill we could see a machine that had food or something in it, and he ran down through the snow, and we waited and waited and waited, and he eventually turns around, he's got 2 baguettes. It was a baguette machine. And we're like, bread. And we were so happy. We sat there and ate bread in this van in the middle. But you know what? Before that, I mean, I was living in my car. I was living wherever I could figure it out to stay out in L.A. because I wanted badly not to go home. Mm-hmm. And so when I made this shift to all, life was actually a little better.
You in the sense that
I was lucky that way.
I mean, music finds a way to do that.
Yeah, and I was on tour, and I was getting drunk and chasing women and all the stuff you say you want to do.
You're living the dream, basically.
I was kind of. Yeah, my mom and dad's dream for me, but my dream, yeah.
But that's important that you say that, because for a guy like me, I'm in a punk rock band here in Quebec, a French punk rock called Kamikaze.
Yeah, I heard you guys are great, so I haven't heard
thank you, man. I guess we owe a lot to the bands of yore in terms of punk rock, our style and everything, and the sound, even though we're more new. I've had the chance to tour Europe, do those kind of tours, but I live in that post-Facebook, YouTube world where, I'm booking tours, my email, I'm booking tour, I'm like...
we had none of that. It used to be, you would drive, and then you get to, say, I don't know, Toronto, and you go, okay, let's find a phone booth and find out where the hell we're going. Wow. And then you'd call, and if the promoter didn't answer, you'd sit there and wait. You know what I mean? It was like so different.
I can imagine the things that we take for granted. Little things.
And when I had a band called Go by Harry after that, I would drive. I like to drive at night. Mm-hmm. I love to drive at night. I like to stay up all night and drive. Then I would pull over, then I would get the atlas out, and I would write all the directions.
And
I'd stick them to the rearview mirror. And if we got lost, I'd be pissed off. You know what I mean?
That's insane. Especially when gas is sparse, you're trying to save money on tour. I can only imagine.
It was a lot different. I sound like we used to walk 2 miles.
No. I love it because I feel that we're not here today if those stories don't happen. We don't learn from those things.
Yeah, but then again, people, Black Flag was doing it before us. But yeah, we would play 200 shows a year.
That's insane.
Come back, make a record. Well, I saw an old tour we did a month across the U.S.
Oh my God!
And then we flew to Europe, and then we flew to Holland, and we did 52 shows in 60 days. Then came back and did another month back to California.
I mean, in this day and age, I mean, bands are still doing it. There's still people that are out there on the road trying to. I can only imagine that kind of lifestyle. I mean,
I've done it. It was horrible, dude. It wasn't. You get. As a matter of fact, once in Victoria, British Columbia. Mm-hmm. I had driven all night and got us across. Maybe it was Vancouver. No, it was Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And I got out of the van. I slept on the ferry across. And I was in just I used to wear jammy pants all day long. You know what I mean?
The comfortable travel pants.
So I was in my jammy pants and my T-shirt, and everybody was in the club. I didn't know where the club was because I was driving, And then we took the ferry, and I was asleep, so I didn't see how we got to the...
You didn't see? Yeah, it's just
the last whatever from the ferry to the thing. I didn't see, so I had no idea. And they left me in there. I got out, and I shut the door, and I had no shoes on, and it was drizzling.
Vancouver, British Columbia, yeah.
It was really cold. And I was in an undershirt, jammy pants, no shoes. I shut the door, and it was locked.
Oh, my God.
And I remember, I looked around, and I'd been on tour for God knows how long at that point. and I just started crying. I'm standing there by this. I started crying like a baby.
Oh,
and there's a
man.
band called the Chemical People we used to tour with, and I see Dave from the Chemical People, and I started screaming, Dave! He gave me a hug, and come on, I'll take you to
take
the
care
club. Get him a cup of coffee.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean that shit. It was all the time.
But it's such a character build. I find
I'm
it's a
sure that
character
stuff still happens though.
I get for me, like I was on tour in Europe recently last November. It was 20 shows in 21 days. Now, of course, we have a van at this point. I'm touring small cafes. I pre-booked the tour. I have pre-sale tickets. We have an idea of what we're making a show.
We did too. We had guarantees and everything.
But it's one of those things where you never know. You show up in a show, and it's like, okay, you're playing not the basement, the sub-basement. You're playing. Oh, there's one plug for all your gear.
Or it's time to go get your money, and the guy's like, yeah, we didn't have a very good show.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
what money?
Yeah, but you said you were going to give me some money.
Oh my God! Oh, you said I had somewhere to sleep. Oh, okay. I guess the parking lot is what you were talking about. The
Right.
5-star.
Or on the stage, you do that a lot.
It's not the Holiday Inn. It's the parking lot of the Holiday Inn. But that's crazy because now when you see today, let's say we're now in 2017. You're on this Music for Cancer tour, the acoustic tour, this all-star regrouping a bunch of guys from back in the days. How do you find touring today? Let's say years later. We're talking in the future. How do you?
I mean, I tour still, so.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How do you like touring now, and what's the pros and cons?
I actually like it a lot. One of the things I like is that I tour by myself a lot. Mm-hmm. I kind of like to be alone, sorta. And when I tour by myself, for one thing, if you make a couple $100, you get a couple $100.
Absolutely.
No per diems, no whatever. Mm-hmm. Another thing is I can decide, like if I got to go to Flint, Michigan, and it's however long, I'll get within 100 miles tonight. I don't have to talk to anybody about it. Mm-hmm. We don't have to argue. Nobody's trying to get laid and doesn't want to leave. You know what I mean? All that shit.
The classic stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So I enjoy that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And I have a bed in my car, and
See,
awesome.
you got a nice little rig going. And I'm guessing now, we don't know each other very well personally, but I feel like I could ask the question, is there a home life? Is there a life away from that you're going back to after this?
That's the other thing is that, I was married, now I'm divorced. The kids are, out. So it's me and a Chihuahua, and I'm so free to do it. What I want to do for the rest of my life is just I want to get a better touring vehicle situation and just be on the road. I love being on the road.
I totally feel it because I have a wife, I have a dog, someday kids.
And I had all that stuff. Yeah.
So I totally see myself doing that. But in terms of music, and even for me in the style I do, and I'm in a French band, I do some English stuff as well. Right. I see myself that in the future it's going to be playing shows, playing for my fans, or playing for people that enjoy what I do. And let's say those young, we're going to break the world, be the next Beatle. That's kind of far gone at this point.
Yeah.
But what I seem to figure out more as I go forward is finding the fun and the simplicity of things.
And finding a situation that can sustain itself.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, when I'm I just did Australia.
Oh,
right?
That must have been a trip.
And I opened for Anti-Flag.
Oh, that must have been
me
a
and
trip.
my guitar. Well, it was scary because I play a nylon string guitar and I do a lot of weird kind of jazzy stuff. Mm-hmm. Always did. And I would play with a local hardcore band or a metal band and something. And then I come out right before Anti-Flag, and they're like this big political.
No, absolutely,
rah, rah,
rah, rah, the whole way.
And I come out, and my thing's just kind of goofy, and I kind of argue with people in the audience and make fun and stuff. So I would come out and I'd have a bottle of Jim Beam for nerves, and I would set it on the drum riser, and I go, this is what you get. And you know what, dude? It went over great.
That's what I was going to say. For me as a concert goer, I'd much rather a guy come out and just be that sore thumb in the good way, in the sense that he sticks out, than a band that you feel is just bland and, okay, well, I guess I heard the same three chords for 12
And every
songs.
night I was going, they're going to kill me, they're going to hate me. And then every night it was great. But one thing I've realized over the years is most people that go to shows want you to succeed. There's very few assholes in the audience, really.
Absolutely.
Most people are like, come on, dude,
I'm
you
here
can do
because I want
this.
it to work. Exactly.
Yeah, and they want to hear something good, so they're willing to, you know what I mean? So I was scared for nothing. I did that. They brought me down to South America. I played Argentina.
Oh, wow. That must have been great.
So yeah, just some guy, this friend, now my friend, was a fan. He said, we need to bring you down here. He brought me to Argentina and Uruguay, and then a guy from Brazil who does the Descendants brought me to Brazil and Chile.
Wow.
I went to all those places, and I came home with some money.
See, now that people always ask what success is, and I find that that's a great way to kind of sum
It's
them up.
It's amazing, isn't it?
You got to do something that you love, you created, and you sustained it itself, and you came back in the plus.
Right.
Isn't that success?
Which is never, and I have friends who have really nice stuff and nice houses and good life, and I envy the shit out of them because I literally have nothing. I got the bank sent me a notice that said you're low on funds. like yesterday.
Oh man!
But I look at them and I say that to them, and they go, "Yeah, but I've never been to South America. I went to South America, dude. I went to South America. I went the show in Argentina. I came out on stage, and they were doing that, the footballer thing. Ole,
yes,
ole, ole.
yes.
For me, there was probably I'm gonna say 600 people. Wow. It was packed on this big tall stage. I was terrified. Came up and they said, and then I got my phone out and I said, because my mom's was a Spanish teacher, and I said, everybody say "Hola, Judy," and the whole crowd went "Hola, Judy." And
it's almost like
my
that.
life is great,
and then that's something that I think is, if I have to take away from, especially meeting people in this industry, meeting other musicians, is that I find that what seems to drive people is their passion, their love, and what brings them back to it is that. And no matter the obstacles, no matter if you fall from grace or if you rise to the top, usually the ones that stick around, or the ones that usually are the most happy, are the ones that kind of understand the reality they're in and kind of do it out of love.
And accept it.
Exactly.
Well, you notice that a lot of bands, big bands, when they're young are really good, then they get shitty because they start to believe their own hype. They start to they lose that edge. Like a band like ZZ Top in the 70s, really good blues rock kind of thing. Then in the 80s, freaking terrible, right? Because they're trying to they want to lose their deal. And then they released that record a few years ago, and it's like, this is really good. Why the hell weren't you doing this? And it's like you get back to the reason you started.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that you need, as a band, as an artist, to go through these steps before you do that.
And you're like, ultimately, it's the freaking music.
Yeah, it comes down to the music. And speaking of music, and I guess I know you guys have to get to dinner soon, and I know we can't. Yeah. I'd love to stay here forever and talk because I love learning these stories. Tour stories are really awesome. But if I had to ask, what are you into these days? What is driving you passion-wise in terms of music? What is the stuff that's...
I have such an eclectic taste at this point.
Well, please share.
I listen to old Dave Brubeck stuff. I'm a huge Dave Brubeck guy, the jazz dude. Take Five. That's the one everybody knows. But I listen to old Canadian bands. I listen to No Means No religiously. The newer stuff, I hear, like, I pick out one song at a time, basically, because just like you don't. You're not like clued into my thing. I'm not clued into that, but I'm ending up playing with a lot of people. Like, I never knew any of these guys, and now I see them every night, and it's fun. And
well, I guess that's the beauty of touring. Also,
I didn't know Anti-Flag. I never heard one of their songs.
Wow. I mean,
they called me and they said, "You want to do it?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Wow.
And then we had a blast, and they're super nice guys, and.
That's the beauty of this industry, is that, like you said, if you're a decent human being and you just kind of do it through passion, and you know, that's how you just. I find that's how I discover a lot of bands, and even if I'm a young guy, I find that it's when you have that open mind that, like, I'm just willing to listen and just
Well, yeah, but the other thing is that when you get in the position that I was in with raising kids and stuff, you step out of the loop, and now I'm just now stepping back in. And so, like, if you ask me this next year, I'll have a lot better answer. I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because it's not that. It's harder to get exposed these days. In the old days, you had 3 or 4 record labels that were your favorite.
Yeah.
And then you had zines in towns, and then you had a record store, and you would go there. Now everybody's got a website. Everybody's got a recording. People who have no business making music
are making music.
They suck. They have full records now. It used to be you really had to be serious because it cost a lot and it was hard to do. So you get all these really cool opportunities to record, but nowhere to find it.
Absolutely.
You can't see the forest for the trees.
Well, that's the thing. And I always tell people that when people say, is there too much music? I'm like, yeah, there is too much music, but that's a good thing because the really good ones are exceptionally good.
The problem with that is, though, that first of all, the really good ones don't stay together like they used to because...
That's true.
Like, if there's a band from, say, we'll go Flint, Michigan, like I said, just because it popped in my head. 4 guys. One guy has a van, so he's in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
One guy decided, and they may have completely different. You got a guy who's got a bass. He likes metal. He's going to be the singer because we can practice at his mom's house. This guy plays guitar, and he likes old Garth Brooks records. And you know what I mean? But that's all they got. Yeah. So they play. And then you get like this really interesting thing. And then because there's a few hubs to find shit, people start to hear them and they go on tour and they can make a little money. Nowadays, it would be very hard to find them. They wouldn't show. You wouldn't see them. So they would have this really cool band that you never heard before, and then
Well, it's
6 months they go, we can't afford to do
we
this.
can't afford. Well, no, and you make a good point because I know that when I was starting out, this is like early 2000. I was 13, 14, playing bars and clubs. I was actually, I told venues, I'll open the show. You know, the bands all don't want to open. I'll be the first band. I don't give a shit. I want the reps and the writing and all that stuff.
Right.
And that's the thing is that back in the day, that's how you get kind of known in a local scene because you're playing live shows. And this was like the birth of the MySpace page. So you did have a kind of like a business card.
MySpace was good.
It was good for that. But what it taught me, especially when you look at the older bands too, is that you kind of had to be a hometown hero, build your scene, build your following, and then exchange with other bands and take it with you. But you still had to build something. You couldn't just like appear out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it used to be like in the old days, you could see. Because there were small-time promoters. Now that's kind of faded. It's really hard to... Used to play at a VFW hall with 5 bands that were all national acts, punk rock acts. Like, by that I mean they could play anywhere and pack in 200 people, right? So you'd have these really good shows for $5 that were at a VFW hall or something like that. And that just doesn't happen anymore because
rare.
You can't get that mid-range reputation.
Yeah, you can't get the mid-range. The rooms that can hold it are closing because it's not profitable.
They're not making any money.
So you end up having to pay either these small cafes that are not really the best place. They can be awesome shows or a bar.
Where the people that you really want to come can't even get in.
Exactly. The all-age thing is out the window. So, I mean, you have to get creative. You have to put, like, church basements and, like,
And that's what it used to be and it should be. But then you would go to a town and there was, like, a subculture of people that all knew the promoter guy, and everybody knew each other, and everybody had played in each other's bands, and then you'd roll through Albuquerque, New Mexico, in all, and they'd all be at the show, and then you make friends, and then
that's how you build your fan base one by one.
Next thing booking a tour is like, you could book a tour in a week.
Yeah, you grab the phone and like you said, you grab the phone book. Come on,
hey, we want to come back to El Paso. Absolutely,
that's awesome. I mean, that's I guess
it's hard to make that happen now.
It's hard.
There's so much music.
It's hard, and I think that people like myself, or at least people in bands or positions like mine, where I know I have a record deal or I am out there a little bit. It's my job to kind of say, okay, well, I'm doing a show. Let's go get 2 local guys that are up and coming. Let's go get this new thing. Like try to kind of keep that radar open and promote that.
Right. Well, and I was in a band called the Pavers, and we tried to sort of resurrect that by having a thing we were going to call Pavers in Your Basement. And what it was we'd bring the PA, we would send you everything you needed to promote it. We would create this thing to make it easy for you to understand how to promote a show. And we were going to hopefully organically get guys to go, oh, I can do that. And it's
great.
like you give us $350.
We'll show up
and we will bring everything.
Wow!
And we never got around. We started to book it, and then the band kind of faded. You should do that. It's a great idea.
If ever I do it, Scott, I'll be like, okay, Scott told me to do it. It's his idea, and I'm doing it. The thing is, it comes down to great ideas, creative ideas, and I think that's the future of at least for
that's
the style.
How you do it.
Exactly.
You force people to go. Like, don't go to the festival. Don't do it. Don't. Like, the coolest band at the festival is going to play at 2 p.m. while you're in line buying a Pennywise shirt. If they came to your VFW hall, you would see them. And then you'd go, those guys are really good. And then the next time, you'd bring a couple friends.
Absolutely. I think there's a way to coexist in that world. And hopefully that's the future of where we're going. And I hopefully for bands like mine and also for your project. I mean, also as a solo guy now, I think there's a way to do that. And I guess maybe not with a full band, but there's a way to get that going.
Well, like solo guys do living room shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like that.
Okay. So listen, oh my God, we just got some breaking news. See, now this has turned into a podcast of breaking news. Music4Cancer just got the award for OSBL of the year. And just to give you an idea, that is in French, Organisation Sans But Lucratif. That means a non-for-profit organization of the year.
Nice.
Wow.
Congratulations.
He just got... Jay! Fucking A, my friend. Holy shit. Dude. Come here. Get in on this. Let's get... All right. We're going to kind of like... Because this is breaking news.
It's really great.
This makes great pod. Jay, get over here. Come on. Grab a mic. Just talk to me about this. He is stunned. He is literally stunned. Get any mic you want, man. Jay is literally stunned.
Yes.
He is... That's insane, man. Congratulations. OSBL de l'année, man. C'est hot en tabarnak.
Ouais. En fait, l'année passée, on a fini, je pense, 2e ou 3e. Puis déjà, je capotais. On était en arrière de comme plein de gros OSBL au Québec. Puis là, aujourd'hui, c'était le gala Stellar. Puis je suis pas allé parce que j'avais pas d'attente. Puis là, ma mère, elle vient juste de me texter il y a genre 30 secondes. Là,
That's insane.
de me dire qu'on a gagné le Westbell de l'année cette année.
To translate, Scott, because I'm doing it, he just said his mom texted him like 30 seconds ago.
Oh, your mom is the one that texted
She's
you.
like, listen, you guys won. And he was saying for the last few years, he's been number 2 or 3 behind these pretty big organizations.
Where did you win it? What is the...
I think it's the gala. It's a certain gala event that...
It's an event that...
So you're going to go to something?
No, it
already happened?
No, it was tonight.
But you were too busy working on your shit.
Of course.
That's why you win awards.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So my mom and dad got there and they received the prize.
Amazing.
Oh my God!
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations,
It's
man.
fucking live radio right now.
Well, it's live
I'm
podcasting,
stoked.
so when this comes out, people are gonna be like, "Oh, this is
Wow.
old news." But for us, it's live happening now.
whatever.
Oh, it's awesome. And by the way, Jay, a big thank you for inviting me here today to meet these awesome individuals. Again, thank you for thinking of me. I
This
was
guy.
there. Oh, thanks. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I
Sure.
mean, of course, like I said, I'm just getting new into this
You missed
podcast
the
game.
boat on my career, but
We know
whatever.
hey, it's never too late. Never too late to get back on it.
Everything's changing for me. So musically, pick me up now because
You're at your best.
I'm becoming a new entity. Yeah, a new
Awesome.
product.
Well, listen, I don't want to keep you from dinner. I know you guys got a show tonight.
Yeah.
I just want to say, lastly, before we leave, is there anything upcoming stuff that you'd like to talk about? Anything like events coming up that maybe this podcast comes out this year? I'm guessing if you have anything, big events, new album, anything that's coming out later this year.
I'm working on a new record, but I haven't named it, and I'm not even sure how I'm going to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Europe in September. I'm going possibly to Japan again, which is fun. Just watch for me. Watch for Scott Reynolds.
Scott
because
Reynolds, and where can we follow you on? Let's say on the
just
internet.
right now, because my website is down. They're working on it. So just look me up on Facebook.
Facebook, Scott Reynolds on Facebook. Please check it out. Once again, thank you again for coming on my podcast. Doing this has been great.
Thanks for letting me. 'Cause
Oh, no, it's my-
I want people to know about me.
The pleasure is all mine. And once again, you guys can listen to new episodes every Wednesday on Nick our podcast. Send your emails, send your questions, send your reactions, everything to NICKAUN podcast@gmail.com. Once again, Scott, thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time. Have a good one and good show tonight, my
Yeah,
friend.
you gonna be here?
Absolutely.
All right, good.
Take care, buddy.
All right, bye.
Is your wardrobe in dire need of some rock and roll? Do your house guests flee in a fit of rage at the sound of your music collection? Stop messing around and head over to bandpromo.ca. What's bandpromo.ca? It's your one-stop shop for awesome band merchandise. Local, international, hell, even your buddy's band is on bandpromo.ca. You will find it all. Cassettes, CDs, vinyls, clothing, accessories, stickers, and even pins. The website is easy to use, shipping is quick, and more importantly, all the proceeds go right into the band's pockets. Use promo code NICK10 and receive 10% off your next order. Don't look anywhere else. Head over to bandpromo.ca. That's BAND promo.ca.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Nick a un podcast de Dictionnaire. We are still back here at the Petit Campus. We are here today doing some live podcasts with some friends of ours that are playing here at the Music4Cancer show here in at the Petit Campus. It's an acoustic all-star tour. Today, my guest is Rami Krayem, vocal and guitars. Used to play for the punk rock band Cigar. Now, or still does, or at least it's active. Now, I'm going to put my cards on the table right away. I'm a young guy.
Okay.
Punk rock for me, I discovered it in the early 2000s with the Blink and the Green Days, and everything before that, the early 90s, I learned through those bands. So I will never say, oh yeah, I used to buy those records. I didn't, but I'm always open to learning and finding out more about everything about the industry, or what it was like to be in a band, or what it is to be a band today, having lived that era. So I always love starting these podcasts by starting from the top and going where it all started. So Rami, where are you from?
I'm from Oregon. Specifically, I live in Portland, Oregon right now. But the band started in Eugene, Oregon. And then once we got things going, we ended up moving down to San Diego. And then from there, we've always lived in different cities. So
You've always on the West Coast, or?
yeah, always on the West Coast. But the bass player lives in San Diego. The drummer has lived in San Francisco and LA and different parts of California. But yeah, we've always just lived in different cities.
And I'm guessing at this point, when you start out in Oregon, when's the first time you get in touch with music? What's the first time music and you just kind of collides and becomes something?
For me, that was high school. I was always into skateboarding and listening to punk rock. And a friend of mine had a guitar, and I saw him playing the guitar, and I thought, want to do that. I want to learn how to play the guitar.
What were the first songs you were learning? What was the bands that were in your headphones at that time?
Oh, back then, I listened to a lot of metal back then. I listened to like Judas Priest and Rat.
No, it's good. I mean, listen, that's what I find always kind of cool is that it's always places where you least expect it. Metal, seems to be for a lot of, from what I see, early '90s punk bands. Metal is a big jump starter for a lot of these guys. The distortion, that energy, that that rawness.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that for me, once my friend, there was a guy I went to school with, and he asked me if I ever heard of punk rock, and I thought, what? I never heard of that. So he said, come over to my house. And he showed me Suicidal Tendencies and Dead Kennedys and The Faction and Descendants and Minor Threat, and I thought, what the fuck is this stuff?
It speaks to you.
Never even heard of it, but to your point about the energy, it was way more than the other bands I was listening to. Not that the other bands were shitty, it was just a different kind of energy.
I think what I always, I mean, teenage angst seems to be that theme, but in the sense that for me, what punk rock meant to me, again, I discovered it in the early 2000s in high school when I was starting out my bands, was definitely the energy, but also that kind of like, you felt like you can escape into it. Where, I guess metal for me at that stage was very technical, mathematical, where it's like, if you couldn't play the solo, you kind of were like, punk rock made me feel like I could be a loser in high school, play 3 chords and kind of get away with it, which was awesome. But it conveyed that energy, which I fell in love with. So I'm guessing for you, it must have been that same kind of,
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, especially for me, because I had started off on guitar. I ended up buying, I didn't know it, but it was a stolen guitar. And then I saw a friend of mine said, wait, how'd you get that guitar? That guitar is really nice. And I told him how much I bought it for. It was $125. And he said, that's a USA Stratocaster. There's no way that guitar
is worth.
It's 125. He said that guitar's stolen. Sure enough, back then we got the newspaper, and I looked in the newspaper. I matched the serial number, and it said
missing
stolen guitar. And I called up the music store, and I said, I have your guitar. And they were so happy, and they said, we'll give you store credit. You can buy something else.
Wow.
And at the time, I thought, well, I don't know what to get. So I ended up getting a bass. And I thought, well, bass is easier.
Less chords.
Yeah, less strings. So I played the bass for a while, and then I didn't end up doing much with the bass. And then I started snowboarding. I sold the bass to get a snowboard. Mm-hmm. And then I took another guitar class in high school. And after that, I thought, okay, I need to get another guitar. And so then I bought a guitar and went from there.
I guess that's serendipity when you think about it. You get the store credit, and it's kind of like exchanging for this and that.
They didn't want to give me the store credit.
Really?
I had to.
They had to fight them for it.
Yeah.
That's right. Come on, guys. I'm being a good Samaritan here. Come on.
Exactly.
Oh man. Well, I'm guessing too, because you were saying about snowboarding. One thing I've always noticed about, especially Southern California punk rock for me, again, the guys like Blink and the Descendants and all those bands, was how skate culture, snowboard culture, was really ingrained in the music. So I'm guessing punk rock and snowboarding must have went hand in hand at that point in your life.
Back then, it was one and the same, and now it's very separate worlds.
I can imagine now again with my young eyes looking at it, it is a very separate world now. Where I'm guessing back then it was just like you had Snow Jam, you had these events where you had guys doing off jumps while the punk rock band's playing in the pit kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I guess that's gone the way of the dinosaur almost. But at this point in time, you're in high school. When do you start the band? When does that start?
That was actually a lot later. I had just played. So one of the things I discovered, there's some guys that I hung out with that did. They were doing hip hop, but they showed me this drum machine, and I learned how to play with the drum machine. But I bought the drum machine not to do hip hop. I made punk beats. Yeah, and so I would just start off at 140 beats per minute, and then speed it up, 150 beats, 160, 170, and I would just learn how to play the strums.
Wow.
But then I would just play by myself in my room for years and years, but I always played with the drum machine, so that the drum machine taught me that if I was fucking up, it was me, not the drum machine.
It basically was the kick it was the metronome of saying, no, you're off, not me.
So I did that for the longest time, and then eventually I jammed out with some friends, but we didn't actually have a real band or anything. And It was a lot later. I was 26 when.
26. At this point, had you gone to college? Had you done other stuff? Was there another life before this?
Yeah, I was in college when I started dating a girl that was living in Eugene, and so I started spending time in Eugene, which I grew up in a town called Corvallis, and then spent a bunch of time in Eugene, and that's where I ran into John. I was wearing a Good Riddance T-shirt, and it had a Fat Records logo, and he was working at a movie theater, and said, "Hey, do you want to sing for a band?" And I told him, I'm not a singer. I play guitar and I play bass. And so we exchanged phone numbers and we started jamming. But he called me while I was still in the movie. And back then there was no cell phones or anything, so it was traditional old
on the tape deck at the house.
Yeah, exactly. So I had a voicemail on the machine at home, and I thought, man, this guy, I didn't even get out of the movie. He got off work and he called me right away and said, come over. So I went over to his house, and he had a kick drum pedal against the wall. There's a broken acoustic guitar case and a snare drum and a hi-hat, and he was playing super fast, and he was doing drum fills on the wall.
Oh my God.
And I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
He's a genius. That's who he is.
So that we just started jamming some songs and just playing and messing around, and I thought, man, are you sure you don't need a guitar player? And at the time, the band that he was starting, it was not called Cigar, but it was the same core. It was John and Jason, and then there was two other guys playing guitar. So he said, "Oh, we're just looking for a singer." And so I told him I don't really sing, but we just started hanging out. We hit it off, and we just started hanging out, and we went on a couple road trips, and we were singing and harmonizing to some songs. And he said, "Yeah, you can sing."
Pull this off.
Yeah, he said you should try out for the band. But I was really nervous. I'd never, sang in a band or anything, and so. I ended up writing a song called Long Run. I wrote that, and I brought it to him, and I said, because I wanted to be comfortable with something I knew. And so instead of trying to figure out their song and where they're coming from, I thought, I'll just write this song and I'll bring it to them. That way I essentially am not screwing up. And then I taught it to him, and he liked it, and he showed it to another band member, one of the guitar players. So two of the guys knew it, and we brought it to the rest of the band members at band practice, and they all learned it, and I sang it, and they said, yeah, it sounds good. Do you want to be the singer?
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, sure, I'll do it.
That's awesome. I mean, a singer, especially with punk rock, when I started my bands, the only reason why I sang in the band was that I had the least amount of accent, because I'm from Quebec, so French Canadian. Whenever it'd be a band, it'd be like a French Canadian accent. My mom's American, so I had like a flawless English at this point. And they're like, okay, well, you sound the best, so you sing. I'm like, I'm not a singer. And that's pretty much what I did. I paved my way just by writing my crappy little punk rock songs, and eventually
cool,
kind of. Yeah, but that's why. So I totally feel you when you say like, I'm not you're not going, I'm born to sing. It's not. It's just like, yeah, I got ideas. I like music. I want to play the things I like, and that's pretty much how it gets to it. I mean, so at that point, you guys start getting the band together a little bit. Could you take me through up to your first record? I'd say your first record that you guys put out, or at least got out there.
Yeah. So we were a 5-piece for a little while, and one of the guitar players decided, because he was in another band, and he said, I'm going to dedicate all my time to the other band that I was in, or that he was in. And so he left, and so then I picked up the guitar. So then there was two of us playing guitar. And we did that for a little while. We actually started playing some shows. We had the name Cigar by that point. And then we played, I don't even know how many shows, but the other guitarist, he would show up to practice late. Awesome guy.
Awesome guy, but punctuality was not a forte.
Yeah, and it seemed like he wasn't quite as driven as us. And he admitted it. He kind of knew that he wasn't on the same level as us. And so we ended up playing a show as a 3-piece, just because we booked the show and said, yeah, we have this show. And he goes, I can't, I'm busy. I'm doing something else. I forget what he's even doing. But we were also practicing as a 3-piece. We were still officially a 4-piece band, but we spent a lot of time as a 3-piece, and things just kind of seemed to really work.
Yeah. And I'm in a 3-piece. I totally feel you when you say it works. 3-piece is just enough. It's just enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the other guy, he's just realized that he wasn't learning the songs and remembering the songs at the same level, because we were writing a lot and just keeping things moving, and so he bowed out, and it was tough, because he's an awesome guy, and we just had this good connection just as friends. But he just said, I'm slowing you guys down, and so he stepped out.
Well, that's very honorable of him, of going, listen, I'm clearly not doing this the way it has to be done, and I rather, instead of ruining the project, or at least tainting it in some way, pulling yourself out.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's the band. It solidifies itself. Now, your first record comes out. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Fletcher from Pennywise was the producer on that record.
Yeah, that's true.
How was it like to make a record with someone of that stature at that point in your career, where you guys are basically just going out there?
Well, it was very interesting.
I love the diplomacy in that. He is very quite interesting.
Yeah, so we ended up playing some shows. We played with a bunch of bands, but we played with a band called 30 Foot Fall, and they were on Fearless Records. And when we were playing, at the time, there's, again, no cell phones, so one of the guys in the band ran across the street to a payphone, and he called Bob from Fearless, and he said, "You got to hear this band." And he said, "Give us a demo. We want to send it to Bob. We want to help you guys out." And so we sent it off to Bob, and Bob was hanging out with Fletcher, and they were driving around. This is the story that we heard anyway. Fletcher heard this and said, "Who is this band?" And he said, "If you don't sign them, I want to sign this band." And we heard that, and we were like, "Holy shit,
that's
Fletcher
insane.
from Pennywise likes us." And so that was definitely a big deal. And so then we got a chance to meet up with Fletcher. They were playing one of the snow jams, and he said, "Come out to Mount Hood, and we'll talk and we'll hang out." And so we met Fletcher, and it was kind of a holy shit moment.
I can imagine. By the way, the record speed is relative for people that, of course, I guess, and like you said, you're working with somebody that, Pennywise, it's a big deal. And for you guys to have him go, "If you don't sign it, I will," I'm guessing that must have been an intimidating but also a very fruitful experience in terms of learning.
Definitely.
Oh, that must have been insane.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he helped us. He put us on one of the Warped Tour shows locally for us right away. And he said, "Let's record an album. Let's, bring you down to California." And so we just did a road trip, and we had no idea, because we'd recorded demos, but we have never done anything at that level. But it was also a fast experience in that we recorded it all in 6 days.
6 days.
So it was
wow.
But I think part of it for us is that's kind of in Oregon. It rains a lot, and so
you're always inside.
Yep, we're always that's all we did, is we just played our instruments, just played our music.
That's how you can record an album in 6 days. In 6 days today, you get drum tracks done and maybe a bass track if you're lucky. That's if the producer's not freaking out over mic placement. But that's insane. But then again, it captures the punk rock energy I think that we both in our own ways fell in love with at that time of our lives, where it's like, it's done in a way that it's not overthought. It's very feeling based. It's very energetic. And I'm guessing, and again, I don't want to hold you up too long because I know dinner is coming soon. You're being very kind with your time, and I really appreciate it. I'm guessing after that experience, you guys hit the road. I guess if I had to sum up one question that kind of englobes everything here, you tour in the late 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. You're in that scene. You're playing SoCal. You're doing the Warped Tour. You're doing all those things. How would you compare that period to, let's say, now where you're on tour with Music4Cancer Acoustic? Like, what are the pros and cons, or what is the lessons you took from, let's say, the past that are applied to the future, or things you would have liked to have known in the past that is from the future?
We definitely should have toured more.
Okay.
I definitely know that. But there's, I guess the cliche is life happens. We moved to Southern California, and it was awesome, but it was also very challenging to start over, kind of, because we were new in the scene. Yeah, had to make new contacts and new friends, and I think it was eye-opening in the sense of there's a shitload of bands out there trying to do the same exact thing, and so we kind of got scattered in our focus. But I think there was moments of discouragement because we released our album and nothing happened. But again, back then it was like there wasn't a way to get the music out there, and then all of a sudden Napster came out, and we started getting this attention, but we started getting attention from places we never expected.
That must have been insane.
One of the places is here.
Well, Montreal and, let's say, Quebec in a whole has always embraced the punk rock scene. I mean, back in the days of, I think, Gob, Reset, these are bands that were huge here. And I always, SoCal, even Blink played this little city called Drummondville on their Cheshire Cat tour. And this was a friend of mine that told me, hey, I was there. I'm like, what are you talking about? Blink was there. Quebec embraced SoCal punk in such a way. And for a band like mine, like my band Kamikaze, owes a lot to SoCal punk rock, because we're even though we're from a later generation, it owes itself to that sound. So we definitely, this place is made for it. Maybe it's the snow, maybe it's the fact we want to be in the sunshine most of the time, but we love it. So I'm not surprised that it made its way here.
Yeah, the first time we came here, and it was we were shocked, like the way we were treated and the people and the singing along with the songs, and we were like, holy shit, how did this happen?
Insane.
So even playing back in San Diego, I mean, we had some good shows, but we realized quickly that it was better for us to just be out there.
Get out there and go find the fan
So
base.
playing, doing a little tours out through Arizona and Texas, and those are great experiences to kind of get out, because I think the one thing about Southern California is, again, there's so many bands, and people get a little bit spoiled because they get to see really good bands all the time, to the point where
it's like blasé.
Yeah, they don't necessarily care as much. And so, and I grew up in a small town.
You would have loved to have seen those bands come and play as often as you could.
Every once in a while, some bands did come through, and I was lucky to be able to. But
nice.
that was the only thing to do, was to ride our skateboards, and if we were lucky, if there was parking lot with no gravel, and then a punk show would play that night, and it was like, yeah, fuck yeah, we got it made.
That's awesome, man. I guess, well, to kind of conclude our little discussion here, I'm guessing now you're on tour with the guys from Music4Cancer. You're doing this acoustic tour. What are the future plans for you? I guess you're doing this now, but is there hope that you're going to continue doing this? Is there anything in the in the canon that's ready to come out?
Doing some of the solo acoustic stuff, writing some more solo acoustic songs, but also writing more songs for Cigar. Not really quite sure timing-wise, but there's some conversations happening.
Well, I'm always a fan of bands creatively putting stuff out and not letting the limitations of, let's say, the industry, or in 2017, getting your music out there isn't an obstacle as it was back in the day. Even for me in the early 2000s, and I can only imagine in the 90s. I'm guessing you guys must be excited to at least try to get out there again and put out some new stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think, because we don't have a whole lot of officially released music out there, so I think that just trying to play something fresh and something new, part of it is just to challenge ourselves. We like playing music together. That's one thing that's never died, is that we
awesome.
And even if no one's there, we're just practicing and writing in one room. It's still
fun.
It's still a lot of fun for us.
That's awesome, man. So I'm guessing if people want to, check you guys out, follow up, and actually, call for you guys. Hey, if you guys love what you're listening to, come and see us. Where can we follow you guys on, let's say, the new web, the Facebooks and Twitters of the world?
Facebook, Cigar the Band would be the place to go.
The place to go and send all the love. And I'm guessing if the music, you guys have some new stuff, that's where it's going to be streaming at, or at least that's where it's going to be available.
Yeah,
at.
You'll hear about it there.
Awesome. And of course, you guys can catch them on the Music4Cancer Acoustic Tour. They're right now going through Quebec right as we speak. Once again, thank you so much for taking this time. I appreciate you taking time out of your sound check time. I know this is a sacred time for artists and stuff, so a big thank you, and Godspeed. Hopefully everything works out and gets the way you want it to be, and much love. Much love.
Thanks for having me.
And once again, thank you. This has been Nick on Nick Our Podcast. And I remember you can find new shows every Wednesdays. You can follow us at Nick Our Podcast, NICKAUN podcast @gmail.com, or on Facebook and Twitter. Once again, thank you very much. Have a good one.